Welcome back. And I have the pleasure of having a special guest. And this is a special show. And I'm just honored to have Richard L. Dunsworth, Dr. Dunsworth, here, the president of the University of Ozarks, my alumni. I'm just so happy to have him here. A little bit about Doc. He's the 25th president of the University of the Ozarks in Clarksville, Arkansas, was named into that position in June 1st, 2013. And under his leadership, the enrollment at the private four-year Presbyterian University has increased more than 40% from 585 in 2013 to an amazing 825 in 2019. It was 610 when I was there. And so that is amazing. And the university has been consistently ranked in by U.S. News and World Report in its annual Great Schools, Great Prices category. With no further ado, we're going to jump right in so that we can get to know this amazing gentleman. Doc, thank you so much for being here today with me. And it's a pleasure to have you here and have you on, and it's such an honor. And my first question to you is, Doc, where are you from? You know, what was your life like, and how did you become so successful in life?
Well, thank you. First, I'll take the compliment that so successful. So thank you, and thanks for having me. It's been a joy following your career the last couple of years. After members of the staff said, "Hey, you should check Franqua out," so check Coach out. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
I was born and raised in a small town in southeastern Colorado, on the Eastern Plains, a town of about 1,200, pretty rural. Some might even call it remote. My family were out there. They were custom harvesters. Think migrant farm worker with really big machines. We would start in Wichita Falls, Texas, just north of Wichita Falls, Texas, harvesting wheat every fall, and every spring, and then we would end outside of Billings, Montana, come fall, harvesting other people's wheat, barley, and then head back home and prep to start all over again. Had the opportunity to go to college. That was the first in my family to graduate college, namely because I met some pretty amazing people while I was at Colorado State University in Fort Collins that invested in me, namely in student affairs. I was invited to be part of orientation and invited to be an RA. And in many ways, that probably changed the trajectory of my life. And that's what you're going to find is maybe a common theme over the last 30 years is amazing people have invested in me. Sometimes when I didn't even know they were, sometimes when maybe I didn't even know I needed it. And that's been all the difference. Another example of that is, I've been working in student affairs at a school in Illinois for about a decade. And I had a great mentor who said, "Hey, how about one more year of this and then you need to be in graduate school?" And I joke now and I say, so she fired me with 23 months notice. And she laughs and tells the story and goes, "I didn't fire you. I told you, hey, how about within the next couple of years, we figure out where you're going to go to graduate school?" And I'm like, "No, I like my story best. Yeah. You fired me. You told me I had to leave." And she's like, "I've never given anybody a 2-year notice before." So, those are the kinds of examples, kinds of things that have come along. I've got a degree in political science, had the chance to get a graduate degree in education, guidance, and counseling. And then I got a law degree at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. I've primarily been in student affairs and then enrollment management, working my way up to vice president and then interim president at another school. And then the Ozarks board invited me to come down to Arkansas in 2013.
So, Doc, did you know you wanted to be a president, or did it was something that just kind of gradually you walk into, because there's things in life that we just gradually walk into, and next thing you know, you're standing in it. And so what was it about student affairs? And you say you have a law degree. Was there any intent of being a lawyer, or did you use that to benefit in your student affairs? Because the path, is kind of interesting to me, because I saw that and I just wanted to know if you haven't practiced law ever.
Sure.
What kind of made you go into that stay in the field?
Right. When I left higher ed, because I resigned my job and went back full time for law school, and I had every intention of practicing law. I applied got offered the job from the firm I wanted to work for, and I'd gotten married that year. My wife was the dean of students at a university. I got the law job, the whole works. Life was good. And the day after I got the law job, one of those people that invested in me along the way, she was the athletic director of the institution, calls and says, "Hey, I'm going to meet you for dinner." And I said, "Great, Lori, I'd love to have dinner, but can we wait until finals are over? I've got to wrap up this whole law school thing." And she says, "Great, reservations at 6," and clicks. Well, nobody tells Coach Kearns no. I mean, there is no telling Coach Kearns no. I'm like, what does this mean? I call my wife, their colleagues, and Holly says, "Accept dinner, go see Lori." So I have dinner with her. I'm in the last couple of weeks of school. Remember, I just accepted a job the day before. And Lori explains to me that the institution had a vote of no confidence in their leadership, that the words she used was, we're listing on our side. The boat kind of lists, and she's like, "Would you consider delaying practice of law for a year and help us out?" I called the law firm, only to know they already knew. They were working on the other side of the conversation and said, "Hey, if you want to defer the job for a year and help the institution, great." So I deferred for a year. And at that time, a new president had come in, and he offered me a vice presidency position, and I stayed and worked for him as a vice president for nearly 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And that's where we kind of get into I love the way you described it. You find yourself standing in it, and it was never a place you planned to be standing in. Well, that president, his name's Doug Zemke, and about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years after starting to work with him or working with him, and he was the first one to really say it out loud. "Have you considered what it might look like if you were a university president?" And at the time, I was really happy being a vice president for enrollment management. The athletic director worked with me. The dean of students worked with me. I got to be in the thick of everything non-academic. I was pretty pleased. I had young children. But I noticed that just about every time I got comfortable, Doug would say, "Let's send you to India for a month and work on projects for the institution." That was one of the first ones. And I'm like, "Excuse me? I think it'd be good for you to look at our partnerships in Asia." Well, shouldn't somebody else be doing that? "No, I think you should do that." Or, "Hey, I think you should consider doing a management training program at Harvard this summer." And he pushed, and I never felt pressured. I felt cared about, and I felt invested in. And then people started calling.
Yes, sir.
That's how it happened. I mean, I'm guessing he nominated me for some things. I'm guessing other people nominated me for things. I'm not guessing. I know that happened. And then folks started saying, "Have you considered?" So yeah, I didn't plan this. I'm a small town farm kid, I never planned to be a university president.
Yes. So, Doc.
But I feel pretty thankful that I am.
Yes, and I would say so, and it's something that I've always played with, and we just spoke about it. Me looking at doctorate program, and so you're what you're saying, that investment piece is just so like vital and just heartwarming because, like yourself, and I know, and you sound kind of the same, blueprint. Dr. Neese, when I was a student activities director at the University of Ozarks, Dr. Neese brought me under his arm, and we're sitting in front of your office now with all the presidents that are lined up there. And he looks at me and he goes, I believe you could be one of the first minority presidents here. And I never thought of anything like that until, like you said, someone tells you, and I'm looking, I'm like, and I said, Dr. Neese, you see that? And he goes, I sure do. He goes, only if you want to pursue it. But he says, right, you have everything inside of you to do that. And so I didn't become a president, but what I did become was successful in leading people because somebody saw something in me that I didn't quite, I knew I thought I had, but I didn't quite see it the way he saw it. To put me on the wall with so many, at that time, so many revered people, which, includes you, it was an amazing, amazing deal. And so, Doc, what did that do to you as you began your journey? What are some of the things that we all have self-doubt sometimes, and we have low moments. When you were facing some low times, what are some of the things that you lean to or that you turn to keep you motivated and keep you going? And I ask that question a lot because I think a lot of people think, oh, Doc he was never down. He's so successful. He's this, he's that. And I don't think people understand they're down moments. Like, you have down moments. How did you get past some of those down moments throughout your career and journey?
My wife's name is Holly, and she says I collect people. Okay. And I laugh and I go, no, I don't know that that's true. It's just that I try to build as many relationships as I can. Mm-hmm. And at any given time, if we use a corporate structure, I would say I always have a board of directors. That there's always a group of 5, 6, 7 people that are propping me up. You don't see them, but they're there. Mm-hmm. And that some of those people, what's the poem, Season, Reason, or a Lifetime? That, some people are in there for just a reason. Some are there for a season. One has been there for a lifetime. I met him as a freshman in college. He's a vice president or dean of students at Webster University in St. Louis. Yes, sir. He's been part of that board of directors since I was 19 years old. They're people that you say, hey, I'm having a bad day, or people that you can say, hey, I'm thinking about you, and instead of just thinking about you, you actually put it in writing. Mm-hmm. One of them, it's usually about 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll get a, hey, have you seen this? One I lost this last year, and he's a former trustee of the University of the Ozarks, and he became pretty important to me, and the role he would play is, I'm praying for you. Mm-hmm. And that's all. He would text me that, I'm praying for you. Or he would pray, or he would text me and say, stay humble. Mm-hmm. I'm praying for you. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like I would get these kinds of messages just when I needed them. Mm-hmm. But that can only happen, I think, because we took time to say, how are you?
Yes, sir. Yes,
and it wasn't a flyby.
Yes, sir.
Too many people, or at least my impression, and what I try to role model for my students and my children is, don't do that as a flyby. And if you find yourself on autopilot, find a way to stop walking, take a moment and say, how are you? And then listen. and build those kinds of relationships. I love seeing the visual representation of friendships and relationships because of the pandemic. And I know it may sound twisted, but it's all the people that are posting screenshots of Zoom friend meetings.
I've done it. Yes, sir.
And it's cool. You'll see generations or you'll see the different connections in the tapestry. And I think we need to take that seriously. It's one of my fears for younger people in that in the Facebook era or in the LinkedIn era, are you building deep enough relationships that can weather, and that it's not just the number of people, it's that 3 or 4 or 5, it's that board of directors that you can reach out to and go, what do I do with?
And it's so important what you say. That's a collection of your net worth as a person, and it's so vital because you're so correct. I made a statement and I made a comment in one of my books, and it's actually in the new book that I have. But there was a janitor. She comes in, and my first day at Missouri State on the job, she walks in my office and said, "Can I take your trash?" And and I go, "Hey, how are you?" And I stop and I lean forward, and she's talking, and she's going, and then she turns around to put my trash back, and she looks, and she sees that I'm actually like looking at her, waiting on her response. And I tell people from that point on, she would come in and she would have a conversation with me. Yeah. And so people were like, "How do you know her?" It's like, because I asked how she was doing. And then I got to know about her daughter. I know about her son. And, and so one of my colleagues was like, "I ain't got time to listen to all that." Well, then this is why your office is not clean sometimes and mine is. And it's just so simple, little stuff like that. But at the same time, that is so true to just stop. And I think great people in leadership that really have a heartbeat of their people have that ability and have that gift. Because I say that's a gift nowadays. Is connecting is a gift that, with this generation in this era of social media, you're exactly right. That is a gift. Doc, with that leading into coming to University of the Ozarks, did you have any reservations, or were there any specific expectations or goals that you had that you wanted to walk in? Because I know when we walk in, when I came to Tallahassee Community College, I was going to win a national championship, and I was going to, and, as from year 1 to year 2, I grew to national championship wasn't so much what I talked about. It was the process of the moment and the process of building leaders, and so now when I walk away 6 years, yes, we won, but I didn't really care about winning as much as I cared about, did these young people walk away with learning and becoming a better version of themselves? Take me back from 2013 till now. What has changed and where have you grown as a leader, being in this position over the last 6 to 7 years? What has changed in you, and what has made you a better leader?
Sure. Wow. That question has so much complexity and nuance to it. We might be here for a couple of hours, so I'll try not to do that.
Yes,
so
sir.
When I was recruited to come down, we were asked to build on the strength that was already here. As I mentioned before we hopped on the call, that I do believe that we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. And you mentioned President Neese, and you also, I believe, had the opportunity to know President Stevenson and the R.L. Qualls, the presidents that are before us that we've been graced to know them. The institution was stable. It had a 180-year history, all these kinds of things, but it was really struggling from an enrollment standpoint. And I was asked to help the institution grow, to help build out our brand. I know brand is sometimes a dirty word in higher ed. It doesn't have to be. It's a quick way to think about the totality of its essence, and start thinking about what might the institution look like as it turns 200. Mm-hmm. And that those directions were, or those objectives were actually coming from the man that I mentioned that we recently lost. He was the chair of the board of trustees, and he said, come in, get a feel of the place, and then tell us what needs to happen. And we started looking and walking around and thinking, and at that time they thought the ideal enrollment was 750. Mm-hmm. And as I would walk campus, and I mentioned a president earlier, Doug Zimke, had come up and he visited, and I said, as you walk the campus, how many students should we serve? And it was this, well, it feels like about 1,000. It feels like, I never heard numbers like 700 when I would ask people walking the mall. You know that mall. You walk the mall and go, how many does it feel like we serve? And folks would say 1,000. They'd say 1,200. They'd say 1,500. I'm like, yeah, that's what it feels like too. And we started asking questions and going, how do we serve our community? I asked one time in an opening workshop, folks had index cards, and I said, what do you apologize for? If I could take an apology away, which one would you like for me to take away? Mm-hmm. It was a wonderful way of getting information, because faculty scribbling, here's what I apologize for. Here's what some of the things, probably 2/3 of them could be fixed that quickly. We just didn't know.
Yes, sir.
So now fast forward from those first couple of years, there were some growing pains. Those first couple of years, I pushed harder than I should have. I might have needed to take more time, even though, you get it on both sides. Folks going, you're taking too much time. You're not moving fast enough. I'm more reflective now, but just as competitive.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And in many ways, the focus now is ensuring that we have bench strength. Mm-hmm. And that's the language we use. I'm not pandering to you as a basketball coach, that we talk about what's our bench strength.
Yes, sir.
And I ask the question as it relates to the vice presidents and saying, what's their bench strength? Mm-hmm. We talk about it as it relates to building the board of trustees and thinking about folks that are coming beyond us, so that it's not ever one person or just a couple, that we're building the organization, similar to your comments about building the team.
Yes, sir.
I think we're winning more than most. Mm-hmm. I started to say maybe more than we deserve, but I'm not prepared to say that. We're winning. And for me, the winning is, it's handing a diploma to a young man or young woman that had been told for most of their life they'd never go to college because of a learning disability. Mm-hmm. And because of the Jones Learning Center, they're now getting they're earned a college degree. Mm-hmm. Or a young person from any of the 26 countries we recruit from who never saw a degree, let alone a degree in the United States, as an option. And because of the things that we're able to do here, I'm able to do that. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing, and gives me reason to keep coming back every day.
Yes, sir.
Long-winded response. Let's pick it apart if you'd like.
No, perfect answer. Everything you said was exactly, my sentiments. I was one of those students. So, and I had the vision of our campus being much bigger. Like, I feel like you said, to be much bigger and to serve, the bench strength that's an amazing statement. I might have to take that from you in the way you phrased it. But even building our team, like, I don't play just 7 kids. I play, 12 to 13 kids, because I feel like at some point, everyone that is a part of this program is going to help us win, and that is an amazing feeling when you can walk on a campus and everybody believes that I can help this university win. Like that is why you're killing it, and that's why the school is growing and being and just being amazing at what it does, because it believes in that everybody has a piece of the pie and is able to contribute. Doc, can you tell me what some of the oldies that have not been back on campus in a while, some of the things that you've done on campus? I know I haven't been back probably about 3 or 4 years. I actually drove my wife. It was closed. I just drove my wife through. I'm like this. And she's like, every time we drive by, you drive me through. She's like, we haven't had a chance to just walk on campus.
Walk
so
the campus.
We were looking forward to this year getting a chance. But can you tell us some of the things that have changed that we might not know about on campus
Sure.
for those that are not been on campus in a while?
Sure. The campus, at its core, it's still the core campus.
Mm-hmm.
What we've been able to do, a wonderful friend of the institution over in Tulsa allowed us to renovate and restore the chapel.
Oh, wow.
That was probably the first project when I arrived. It had been on the list of one of the things, hey, we need to do some work in the chapel. And I think what you'd find as you walk in the lower level is it, in many ways, it feels like home.
Okay.
In the feel, the furniture, the fireplace, the TV,
Mm-hmm.
that it's seldom will you walk through there and there not be a student just hanging out. And one day I remember at the end of the first year, I walk in and all the TVs have the World Cup on them, and the place is packed. And I'm like, okay, not what we had planned for the use of the chapel, but I'm mentally going, but the furniture's really comfortable. So, okay, great. And they can get loud and not disturb anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Then some of the other physical changes, putting a coffee shop in the library,
Okay.
creating an innovation hub in the library as well, where, whether it's podcast rooms or 3D printers, maker spaces, places for students to create.
Yes, sir.
The kinds of things I think what you'd find as you walk around campus is we've used I mix it up, metaphor analogy, that it's Velcro. Where can we create spaces that are sticky? Architects, I think, often call them third spaces, where anywhere where there's a space that can be used to create community, let's find a way to help it create community. We've played with the course calendar where, the chapel is on at the 11 o'clock hour, 11:30 hour on Tuesdays. Well, that Thursday time block, because it corresponds with the Tuesday time block, is also sacred for faculty meetings, for organizations to meet, the kinds of things, again, to drive community. I think also in addition to all the physical changes, we've attacked price differently than most. Okay. Over the last 7 years, our total price change in 7 years has been barely 5%. Several years, for 4 years, we held it flat. We've eliminated course fees. We've eliminated any fee that you can't see on your first bill. Room, board, a learning fee that pays for all technology, all books, the whole works, so that then if you register for 15 other classes, you're not going to see a chemistry lab fee. You're not going to see an art lab fee, because, again, half of our students are first generation. Mm-hmm. And those are things more often than not a first generation student and family don't think about. Mm-hmm. And then it's, hold it, you need another $100, you need another $200. Yes, so I think what you'd find is we've made physical changes, we've made business changes, and then the demographic shifts. You would find that as you walk the mall, you might hear 2-3 different languages. Mm-hmm. You might see more people that look more like you than look like me, because the campus reflects the demographics of Arkansas and the demographics of the United States. Yes, sir. And that was intentional as a way to prepare our students to work in a global environment.
Yes, sir. But and that is so refreshing to hear. I know that is one of the things, and you're such on the path that I had one of the most amazing opportunities as part of the SGA board. I was vice president at the time, and had gotten a chance to present, to the board of trustees at the annual meeting, which was amazing. And at the time, Helen Walton was still on the board. And what you're talking about is what she expressed to me as a student, and what she expressed to me of how she was asking me if the university was moving in that direction as a minority. And I thought it was in my time. And it is so amazing to hear that, what her vision was and what she wanted, and what the vision of the campus is now is, it is what it is. And so, I just hats off to you, Doc, for all that you've done, and your amazing vision, and how you've just built people to meet that expectation, and that vision is just absolutely amazing. Doc, I want to bring one more thing up, and I know you're a busy guy, and I don't want to keep it too long, but I wanted to ask, I was reading and doing some research on campus, and I keep reading about this entrepreneurial spirit that you're bringing to campus. And, one, being an entrepreneur, but, that is something that we, haven't seen, well, I haven't seen on campuses. And so can you kind of explain that? Because I was really intrigued by, how you guys are building people to kind of find their own way, and find the value within themselves, and where they want to go, and how to create that, taking their passion and making it profitable for them. And,
Sure.
what did that come from, and what is behind that on campus? Because that makes me want to come to get my doctorate and come back and teach. Because
Great.
you're getting to inspire young entrepreneurs. That's something that is amazing. And I just wanted you to expound on that a little bit.
Sure. There are a couple of projects that we've done that to some degree happened a little bit, I guess, due to serendipity, a little bit out of a whole lot of intention, and some of it maybe wasn't necessarily planned out as far as you would think. Now, let me give you an example. The university owns a building that now has a health clinic in it. That came about where we were looking at both the diversity of our investments, and a couple of us were talking about, hey, we invest in real estate as part of our endowment, but all of those holdings are in Dallas, LA, major metropolitan area. If we're going to invest money in real estate, what would it signal if some of that investment were local? So we asked our board of trustees to allocate a very small percentage of our portfolio for local investment. And the request from them was that we had to commit to returning or generating the same kinds of returns if we were investing elsewhere. Okay. So with that is kind of, and then a couple of them are our board of directors for that. They're our advisors. So throw that as a backdrop. A local bank closing one of their branches, and they came to us and asked if we'd be interested in it. We did an RFP for a medical clinic. Why a medical clinic? That was one of the most commonly commented about challenges for new employees, was that they couldn't find a local doctor, they couldn't find a local nurse, they had to travel more than 20 miles to find somebody because we lacked capacity. And it's one of the most common complaints from students. If I need to see a doctor, or I need to see a nurse practitioner, I just need a script for a sinus infection, I have to drive 20 miles. So that was our market research. So we tested it, and sure enough, 3 different companies said, if you build the clinic, we'll do a long-term lease, which brought River Valley Primary Care Service and it's 3 blocks from campus. You can walk there.
Oh, wow.
So when we did it, it was, yes, to serve the community, and it's got to make money or at least generate enough of a return, but it also serves our core mission. And that's what you'll find with most of the businesses is that our core mission is education. Let's not get into other people's core missions, but if we can make it easier for them and it makes sense, great.
Mm-hmm.
We had a restaurant in town that closed. The owner was looking for a new building, and a member of the community brought them to us and said, any chance you've got any facilities that could turn into a restaurant? Well, we'd been hearing, and we'd experienced it as well, that when we were interviewing candidates for jobs, you want to take them to dinner. You've got a great lunch choices. You've got great family fare, but we didn't really have a place where you could take somebody to interview.
Mm-hmm.
They walked one of our older buildings and said, this is amazing. I love the natural wood. I love the rock finish. I can turn this into a steakhouse. And sure enough, Voorhees Hall, that had been sitting empty for a couple of years,
Really?
is now a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous steakhouse. And most all of it is actually natural. It had just been covered up by years of carpet and drywall.
Wow.
And now it's back, exposed ceilings. It feels a little industrial. And the owner, multi-generational farmer here in town or here in the county, and it's amazing food. So those are a couple of the kind of examples. We're now talking about conversations with the city about what might it look like if we help them create an incubator space for other small businesses where, you know, some of the names, the faculty who, they probably won't like it, but I'm going to say to you, might have a little gray at the temple. They're great faculty members, but they might now want to go, let me take you under my wing and tell you how to put together a business plan when you're applying for a loan, or what would it look like to help continue to drive economic stimulus. All of this is really predicated on the belief that if Clarksville is strong economically, if Johnson County is strong economically, it'll be easier for the university to weather storms, whether that be a pandemic or whether that be a downturn in enrollment. If we can do our part to make sure that our community partners are thriving too, well, it becomes symbiotic. And as they take a step up, we get to take a step up. But we're too dependent upon each other. And we're finding some economic success and some community success along the way.
That is amazing. That is amazing, because I know all the things that you're talking about, like firsthand. You know, we had a nurse on campus for, you know, I think it used to be Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or some odd hours. You know, and there was really nowhere to go, but that is just absolutely amazing. And you know, I would love to see that, me being an entrepreneur myself, that incubator space, because that's something that I really believe that as I go through higher education, we need to prepare our students more with, you know, the entrepreneurial role, because of, you know, we're not, some of the curriculum isn't going to help us, you know, down the line. We got to know it, but you know, what is something that I can apply and be applicable and walk into, you know, a dream, you know, right away, and, you know, not have to work so hard and over many years to kind of learn that through hard knocks. But I get it, you know, right there at the university. But Doc, it's been amazing. Thank you for what you're doing for my alma mater. I speak that not for me, but for everyone that was a part of the University of the Ozarks. It is so good to hear our university growing and growing in such a way that we would probably never have imagined. And I can't wait to just get back on campus. Any way I can add value to you and University of the Ozarks, please let me know. But I have 2 questions for you, and these are the 2 most important questions of the interview. The first one is, if a book is going to be written about you and your life and to this point, what would that title be?
Well, I've always said if I were to write a book, the title would be Random Thoughts.
Okay.
Now, when you say it's that last phase about you, so because there, all sorts of random goofiness that runs through my head. But I think I like that title. But if it's about me, there are pieces that come to mind. Something like life, or life when your name's on the side of the truck. And I'm going to circle back around to the very first part. When I mentioned what my family did growing up, we had magnetic signs on all of our trucks, and the family name was in big letters there. You couldn't hide from that.
Yes,
it's like small towns when grandma knows your fourth grade school teacher, you can't hide from that.
Yes,
and I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that name. And what would it be like if you lived where, everybody knows your name and your name's on the side of the truck. So something along that lines, creative movie people would figure out what to make that make that sound like, or publishers would figure out how to do that.
Yes, sir. I like that. Now, if we take that amazing title and Netflix or Hulu takes it and makes a movie out of it, who's playing you?
Well, one of the losses that age has caused for me that I'm not real happy about is when I was in my 20s, I had hair. I had serious hair. My daughters actually commented that if we moved back to the state, Illinois, that maybe my hair will grow back. She blames it on Arkansas, and I'm like, sweetheart, I think it's about age. So I think in my mind, that movie's got to be somebody 20. He's got to be more fit than I ever was, preferably 6 foot tall, some nice blonde hair. Because I've never been 6 feet tall, but once upon a time I did have some blonde hair, and any of my friends from college that are listening to this are rolling their eyes because it wasn't really a good look, think mullet, that kind of thing.
Think mullet.
Then who? Oh my goodness. How about a Tom Hanks? Okay. How about I don't know. What are some of the guys in that?
I thought you might say Brad Pitt.
Oh, heck. He's a small town.
He is.
Small town, Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri. Yes, sir.
Yeah, a small town boy. I can do that. But or me. And he's probably knocking on about the same age as I am. So he just gets to play the young, virile guy. Yeah, I don't know that I could feel good about that. So
that is awesome.
Well, we're on that. Then might as well be one of the Helms, whatever, the guys from the Avengers.
Thor.
I want
Thor.
Yeah, exactly. Or Captain America.
Yes, sir.
I wish I looked. Nah.
Yes, sir. Well, Doc, thank you for your time. It's such a pleasure. I will have the way you can connect with Doc. All his information will be in the bio when we produce this. And thank you again, Doc, for doing such an amazing job with me today and doing such an amazing job at the university. I just keep hearing great things about you. And I look forward to meeting you and being on campus, hopefully after all this madness stops. And come see the great.
I look forward to it too. Now, before we sign off, you got to answer the last question too. Who plays you in the Netflix Hulu movie?
Well, I always say it would probably be Will Smith. That's the only thing I could probably think of. And he would probably be the closest, but he definitely has got the height on me because I've never been 6 foot either.
Exactly. I can long for it. I've got a son that says, "Dad, I'm going to be 6 foot," and I said, "I hope you are. I hope you are." But Have you seen your mother? And he's like, I don't see why you keep saying that. I'm like, the genetics might not be in the works for you to be 6 foot tall, but I hope. Just keep drinking your milk.
Yes, sir. Hopefully keep putting some salt in the shoes and dangle from the monkey bars. It might work.
Exactly.
Yes,
well, you take care. And again, thanks for having me. And I look forward to walking the mall with you sometime soon.
Yes, sir. For another episode of Full Court Press and Transition with Coach Q, we had the pleasure of being with, Dr. Dunsworth. Again, thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again.